Gonna do the distress. Things I wanted to express. Somewhere there must be an outlet. If this is Mars, is it all get? Used to be, yeah, used to be. Fun and games, not for me. Happen to the fun. Happen to the fun. Written must be my theme. Timeline was happy. Yeah, are you red? You say it from the end. No, 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 no.
As you can see, there's a lot of snow on the ground. Well, a lot for around here. And it's raining. I don't know if you can tell that. So the creek is up and I wanted to come out and see it. And maybe get some pictures of the staff gauge just so we can see what certain flows look like and verify the instruments we've got measuring the creek level. Looking almost straight up the reach in which our antennas are placed. There's the side of the flume. Seeing how much snow there is left, the flow may still go higher. Here's antenna 3. Can't see it, of course. There's the tuner box, the bridge, the piers of Catalina's Reach. Wide bend here, the bar that's usually above water level whenever we're here. Somewhat underwater, somewhat emergent here at the downstream end. Here's antenna 2. Again, can't see the antenna. Again, good, as long as that doesn't mean it's gone. Log jam. This bar pretty much almost all out of the water except there at the upstream end. There's one of our piezometers back there. Get a shot there. One of my justifications for coming out here is to get pictures of the flow at the staff gauge in the flume, and specifically I'd like to get it on the half hour, which is, I believe, the interval that our piezometers record at. That is, if I get pictures of the water on the gauge at the same time as the instruments are recording, then that provides an independent verification of the stage recorded by the logger. There's one little staff gauge, but that one's decrepit. At the gauge in the flume, there's both the staff gauge and the piezometer. Oh, there's another little staff gauge, almost completely obscured. And here we are back at the flume. I'm going to turn this off because I might see if I can do a time lapse here.
What's that?
This is what you do to graduate students. You tell them to get into fast water.
It's not that bad when you're tied off or something.
Message to a friend.
We are at Oak Creek repairing this antenna. This is our best antenna. We had the end pipe there buckle on us, so we've sawed a slot into a larger piece of PVC, stuck it over, zip tied it, and electrical taped it to reinforce the pipe. We have also sort of patched up places in the antenna wire that were worn through. There was in fact one spot that was worn through to the conductor and actually worn away a bit of the copper wire itself. I guess technically that will affect the sort of tuning of the wire. I hope not very much. We've had to wait a while for the water to go down enough to get in here to do anything, except for John to tie himself to that cable over there and measure the discharge. In an ordinary year, we would kind of figure that we were done with any kind of storm that would get us anything moving past this antenna, but we've already had like 3 peaks that have probably initiated transport, so who knows? We could get another storm. And this is our best antenna in terms of efficiency. Oh, you already drove that anchor in?
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, we're putting in extra anchors also. So you can see where the cord is tied off to a steel wire / cable that's anchored with a duck-bill ground anchor into the bank. There was one of those already, but John's put in a second on this end, and we'll put in a second on the other end to try and hold the antenna more tightly. And there we go. We ran into the problem with these ground anchors. You can stick them in, then you got to pull them out. It's like, you stick them in like this and then pull them out and they go like that. And anchor, you yank that out. But once you pull it, you don't know how far back out it's going to come. And once you've pulled it tight, there's no putting it back in. So you put it in, you pull it back out, and then you're just stuck with whatever you got. And we would have liked to have had less slack. We would have liked that to be much closer to the bank. We tried 3 times. As you can see, we got 3 anchors dangling there. Only one's tied off. Bit of a bummer, because, well, we've gotten it reasonably tight. It's March. We're not terribly worried about it. All things being equal, we'd rather not have metal that close. We hope that having metal that close to the antenna wire does not affect its tuning. We hope it doesn't affect its read range. Changing out batteries. We're here to retune the antennas. They may largely be in tune, but they get battered up, shaken around, torqued a bit here and there, and one of them got bent all out of shape, and we sort of had to remount it as we were looking at before. So it's generally a good idea to check the tuning on these things every now and again, because the tuning is pretty persnickety in the sense that you're dealing with resonance circuits, and resonance can be a fairly narrow target, and you want to try to stay within that target window, because we've already got pretty low detection efficiency. It's something we've been sort of puzzling over. One of our antennas has like almost 50% efficiency. Is that right, John? But the others...
Well, for 1 grain size.
For 1 grain size, oh. Yeah, in general, we're getting not only less than 50% efficiency, but at least for some grain size, down around 5%.
Well, for 1 antenna, for 1
For 1 antenna, for 1 grain size, 0.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
But that is also the worst performing antenna with the least performing grain size. So.
Yeah. The faster the rocks are moving through, the less likely you are to get them.
And a smaller tag. Smaller
tag, too.
You can do the rest of this because you're going to be messing with all of these features. Whenever I swap everything out, I just run the CG, which will give you the mux, the charge, the pause, the sync, and then note them.
Okay.
Before we leave. And then type in MX, and it gives you 1, 2, 3, 4, and then DT, and then reader versus UMA, time and date. Look at the UMA, type in DT.
And this is the issue of the reader time wandering.
Yeah.
Drifting, essentially not being a very good clock.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
And then the rest of this I do after I get home. And then everything else that you do, you can just note on the next page. So we're just going to go ahead and tune. I already did the pre-stuff.
Gotcha.
So generally the way it works is I come out here and I say, I record, I just leave the load tester in my house.
Yeah.
And then just record before I leave. And then when I get here, before I swap the batteries, I type in add, and then record the battery voltage before I swap the batteries, and then note any tags that are on the antennas. And then I swap the batteries, and then I do add again to check the voltage on the new batteries.
And when we tune, am I doing muxing one at a time while we're doing that?
Otherwise, you can't tell if it's, because it'll go through all of them.
Right.
So you just type in MX1, enter.
And then all I'm going to need to really record here is read range for sure. And if you change the jumper configuration, we should record that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll basically just go through antenna 1, antenna 2, antenna 3. So
to turn this off, all we do is just go to the physical switch. There's nothing at the keyboard here.
yeah. So you go ahead and plug this in. By the time you get back, just go ahead and go MX1, enter, MX2, enter. Because some of them might already be green, and we'll just skip those.
We plug this in to do the tuning, and then to do the read range, we unplug it, and so we got to turn it off again, turn it back on, and so on.
Yeah, but that's when we get out there.
For that matter, I can, while you're going back to the truck, I can just check the tuning on all of them right now.
That's what I...
Is that what you told me to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's cool.
I'm cluing in.
Yeah, and I try to leave the lid closed just in case it rains.
Oh, in general like that?
Yeah.
I'm at Oak Creek again. More snow, more rain. Trying to solve our humidity problem. Got some stuff that's for gun safes. We've got desiccant already in our big box, but it's not keeping it dry. So we want to put some desiccant in the small box, the one with the reader in it. Because the specs for the reader say that the humidity has to be less than 97%. Doesn't seem like a stringent requirement, but you see what it's like out. Pretty much 100% humidity. So we're going to try this. So yeah, flow's coming up. Keeps raining and the snow keeps melting. We might have another serious flow on our hands and really want those antennas to be operating as well as they can. We've got that can of desiccant there, but we did notice that when a bit of rain got into the box, the next day there were still water droplets in here, so it didn't just suck up the moisture like crazy. So got these desiccant packs, put 5 of them into the reader box here. So this is kind of interesting. The stage is a bit higher than the last time I was here getting video in high water in January. In February we had 2 big events that were bigger than our November one, twice as big as the peak of the January ones. This gravel bar, which was flatter than in January, looks like it's built up a little bit on the upstream side, but it was underwater when I got video here in January. Visual evidence then that there was significant bedload transport in February because it moved gravel up on top of that bar, so the water had to be pretty deep up on top of there. Definitely the shape of the channel has changed. So I'm here at antenna number 2. You can see the box on the tree right there. The antenna is in the stream right next to there. This is one of the ones that we've been a bit perplexed about. Why does it have such poor efficiency? It could be it's just out of tune, that the electronics aren't working, but I also speculate what you can see here is how the water is accelerating through there, which means that gravel particles are probably also accelerating through there. If they get moving at the head of that riffle, then they're unlikely to stop near the antenna, and so they're going to go zipping by. The less time they spend going over the antenna, the less likely they are to get detected by the antenna. And that could explain why we have relatively poor efficiency here. It must have been cool, but I'm actually just glad I wasn't here anyway. That tree fall is recent. So it is Tuesday today, and we were here on Sunday, and it snowed on Monday morning. I suspect that the snow brought that down. Don't know, wasn't here, kinda glad.